Welcome, everybody, to another exciting, super awesome, spectacular, Wookiee-tastic, galaxy extravaganza, fun, awesome, super duper, galactic greatness episode of the Brian and Ryan Show.
We need to get an intro.
We do. I think we were making it sound like Mario Brothers, so maybe good thing we changed it up there at the end, or else the algorithm would flag us and our episode would be banned from YouTube.
My daughter spent the whole summer using my new iPad as like an art thing. She's got like one of those drawing pens.
You know
Maybe
what?
I'll see if she can do some animation.
That's a good idea. You know what? We like slave all day for our kids, and they do nothing with their lives. So they should at least contribute to like a theme song or something. They always talk about how creative they are. We have to buy them all. I have to buy my daughter her iPad so she can spend all day ignoring me on it.
Yeah, and your daughter does really good anime stuff, so she can like animate us.
Yeah. Ooh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Addison!
Like put her on the spot.
Addison!
What 12-year-old girl doesn't like getting put on the spot?
Is she not coming down here? Hang on a second. Addison!
Come now!
Your father is calling you! Oh. Well, when she gets out of the shower, tell her to come down here. Because I need to talk to her. Make sure she's dressed, though.
It's very important.
Then she can come down. Anyway, if I didn't introduce myself, by the way, I'm Brian.
I'm Ryan.
The long dramatic pause. I just need to talk to her. Oh my god. Never mind.
She's useless.
Dude, no, I'm getting the interrogation from my other child. Why do you need to talk to her? What do you want to talk to her about? Just shut up. Just tell her ass to come downstairs.
Because I'm the father, and I said, so yours...
Fucking, dude, it's like...
My oldest is 13.
Yeah.
And my youngest is 11. My oldest is a boy, my youngest is a girl. My son is perfectly content to sit in his room and just listen to music all day.
Yeah.
And my daughter is perfectly content to just sit in her room and do artwork all day.
Yeah.
It's like at the phase now where we don't really see them as much because they're just kind of doing their own thing. Dude, and then when they're together, they just want to murder each other.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like my children.
They're getting really snarky and starting to, have some like back talk where we're like, "Yo, know your place."
Yeah, know your role and shut your hole.
You're still a child.
Yeah. And
we've had some very serious discussions lately about what they think. Like, yes, you're smart kids. You understand a lot of things, but shut the fuck up sometimes.
Dude, my thing isn't even... Yeah, it's just like they suddenly are talking to you like they have a say and they're an adult in this situation. Like they're an equal partner in this household, and it's like, no, you are not. You are not an equal partner.
Are you paying rent? Are you paying utilities and anything for the food? No? Okay, then, I'll take your advice into consideration.
I'm going to start leaving them notes when they open it. It's just going to say, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Here's a note for you. Let me write down my feelings. You need to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we're getting into the thing where everything's a negotiation now. It's like, hey, I need you to bring your dishes to the table. Well, why do I have to bring my dishes to the table? I brought them last night. How come mom doesn't bring her dishes to the table? And it's like...
Yeah. No, I missed the days where I was daddy and everything I did was cool. And...
I know we're going to talk about video games later, but my youngest daughter would sit and play video games for 24 hours a day if I let her. She would just not sleep. She would just play video games all day long, every day. And my oldest, like you said, just wants to sit in her room, listen to music, and draw on her iPad, and that is all she wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
She comes home.
I have a hard time with because that's what I did.
Yeah, I know. That's the struggle, right? That's the struggle. It's like, I get it. But I'm like, but we're way cooler than our parents were.
You need to get off the video games. Spend 5 hours, go find something else to do. I'm thinking dude, I spent whole summers.
Dude.
Just
I spent
Just being a sweaty, nasty
I
teenage
put
boy.
180 hours into Final Fantasy 3 on the Super Nintendo over a summer.
Dude, I think I stayed up for like 2 days straight and
Dude,
played Final
I
Fantasy 3.
know. That's the hard part. Like, but we were teenagers. They're 8 and 12. What the hell?
Yeah.
God, yeah,
Well,
I know. That's the hard part is like it's that between like okay, I don't want to I want to be the cool dad, but I also don't want to be that asshole who just lets my kids do whatever the hell they want to because then they just grow up to be like entitled assholes.
yeah.
But at the same time, I'm just like but like they'll just come home and then they'll just my oldest will come home and like we'll go to the grocery store. We need to unload groceries. She gets out of the car, walks upstairs to her room, closes the door, and then like, where'd she go? What the hell is she doing?
They come downstairs, get some snacks.
Oh yeah, get some food.
Yeah.
Like they're hoarders too, like squirrels. Do you find like garbage all like under their bed and like?
Oh yes. So we get the water bottles from Costco because my wife doesn't like the tap water around here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally every day picking up 5, 6 empty water bottles that are just littered all over my living room.
Oh my god.
And then my son, apparently he's been sneaking pre-dinner dinners. So like he goes and like nukes himself like 5 or 6 chicken nuggets or something like that, and just eats them and throws away to puts it like on a paper plate or something like that, so there's no evidence. And yeah. But I mean, like he does a lot. Like he plays a lot of soccer, and he's a very active kid. And he's literally like 1/10 of an inch shorter.
And I get it, like they're growing, but like my 8-year-old will she'll literally come down at 10:30. She's supposed to be in bed like hours ago. Come down at 10:30 and be like, "I'm hungry. I'm gonna eat something," and just start like rummaging through the fridge. And I'm like, get the fuck to bed. What are you talking?
Yeah.
Like I would never. Can you imagine? Can you imagine doing that when you were like a small child with your parents? Can you imagine if you came down and your parents are watching Murder, She Wrote, and you're just like, "Hey, Mom and Dad, I'm making a sandwich on a school night at 10 o'clock at night because I'm hungry."
Yeah. See, I didn't do that as a kid because I know I would get my ass chewed out.
Dude, you would have caught a remote across the room upside the head immediately. Like, I mean, like, I like to be, and like, it's not like we don't discipline our kids, and it's not like I just let them do whatever they want to, but but I also don't want to, like, I don't want to be like an abusive parent like our parents were. Like, oh, wait a minute, what they were doing was actually child abuse, so I don't want to, like, beat my kid over the head with a hairbrush because, they're getting a snack at 9 o'clock, but for the love of fucking Christ, can we, like, can our children actually act like they respect us at all, just like a little bit?
But the struggle is real in my household, and I have it with movies too. It's like that one Facebook post that I made from Bloodsport, and then I was talking, one of our friends from here from Philadelphia, he was getting in on it, and I was laughing at my son, like, look and go, "What's that movie?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Bloodsport." And he's like, "Can I watch that?" I'm like, "Your mom would literally get pissed off if I let you watch this movie." Dude. He's like, "Oh," he's like, "Well, when did you watch it?" Like, I think I was like 11.
Yeah, I watched Predator when I was 12. 14. That really fucked me up.
Yeah.
Dude, I was 8.
I just remember I caught it on HBO. Like my parents were like,
dude,
went to the store or something.
We watched everything on HBO when we were younger. That's where I saw Aliens for the first time. That's where I saw Predator for the first time. HBO. Greatest channel of all time.
I would wait until my parents like either went grocery shopping or like my mom went grocery shopping. My dad was still at work. My brother and I would just book it and just be like, you'd have to get the guidebook out, and be like, all right, so it's 3 o'clock. HBO is going to have, this movie. And so we'd have to go to the satellite dish and, push it to the right thing because ours you had to set it like, 80 west, east, north, we had a giant, like, 80-foot dish in our yard. But, yeah, those were the good times. Now they just, like, everything's on.
Yeah, it's on demand. I used to just go, we always had we didn't have HBO, we always had friends who had HBO, so we would always say, like, "Hey, can I spend the night at Tommy's house?" Because Tommy had HBO. Like, I was like, I don't even like Tommy, but Goddamn,
Can
he's
you
got
stay up until
HBO.
1 o'clock where they show like the naughty stuff?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. But anyway, yeah, it's funny he's talking about HBO and rated R movies because we are going to actually be talking about the HBO
Ooh.
Max's latest released, which also happens to be a rated R movie, which I also happen to let my children watch. So I'm probably a bad parent.
Yeah, probably.
Me and the missus within a few minutes realized like it might have been a mistake, but we're like, oh well, after you already well, I'm not gonna say who. After you already watched one of the Suicide Squad get their face blown off, I mean, you've already seen it at that point. Is how much worse is it
Yeah.
gonna get? The answer is actually quite a bit. It
But
was,
King Shark makes up for everything.
yeah, we'll save that. We're gonna talk a lot about Suicide Squad tonight.
Hmm.
We enjoyed it greatly, and we wanna talk about it. So we have not actually had a chance to talk to each other about it since we watched it. So this will be fun. We also have we've got. We're not going to sit here and complain about our children all night. I mean, God knows we could. Hopefully, you people watching have. Hopefully, everybody watching has can relate to our struggles and pain. I know most of our our followers are parents, so yeah,
The
you were
people
not
that are
alone.
left.
Yeah, none of you are alone. We all struggle with our asshole children that we just all decided we had to have, and mine
Hmm.
still is yet to come downstairs. That was like 10 minutes ago. Whatever. She's out. She was gonna get us guest parents on the show. We were gonna talk to her, but now she doesn't want to be here. So whatever. But before we get to all the fun stuff tonight, we figure. Well, I guess this is fun as well. That's a terrible segue. Before we get to all the other stuff tonight, we have been putting off a review that we've been wanting to do for a little while, and we decided tonight we're gonna do it. Warner Brothers Animation was nice enough to send us not one, but 2 parts to Batman: The Long Halloween, and we watched the first one, and we both really liked it, I believe, and we wanted to get the second part in before we really got a chance to review it. So the second part came out. I did not get a chance to watch it. Ryan did. So this is going to be a very interesting review. I'm going to talk a lot about what I liked about part 1, and Ryan is going to talk about what he liked in part 2 without spoiling it for me because I am really excited to also watch part 2. I've just been hella busy and haven't had a chance to finish it yet. So
I'll try not to tell you about that King Shark just eats Harvey Dent.
God damn it. I knew it was King Shark the whole time. Friend. Friend.
Friend.
Hand.
Bird.
Disguise.
We'll get to that. But so as Brian said, we do want to thank Warner Brothers for sending us. They sent us part 1 when released about a month ago. And they also sent me a nice little calendar, like one of those daily calendars where you rip off the thing at the end of each day.
Yeah, they send you a bunch of candy.
To release the part 2.
Yeah.
That just came out last week.
Why don't you tell them about all the candy they sent you that you just obliterated immediately?
So we thank you guys for sending it to us. We appreciate it.
Yes,
and,
thank you very
we
much.
hope that the millions upon millions of people that get the good vibes that we're about to send out for these movies pays off.
Yeah,
And then
hopefully.
you keep sending us more. So
more movies, not candy, because Ryan ate all the candy that you sent him.
yeah,
He did not share it with me.
it had Skittles and
What?
it was basically like your normal little fun pack of
Yeah.
candy.
What a jerk. Anyway, all right. Well, let's talk about this. So, the big thing is so this is following in the animation, the new kind of animation style that DC Animation's doing. I know we reviewed the Superman movie that came out that we really liked, kind of the new. I don't know what you call it. Like it's 2D animation, but it has like these black outlines on everything, so it kind of gives it like a.
It's a thicker outline. Just like so, it'd be like my body would just have a thicker black outline, and but when they turn, it's still like the thick outline.
Yeah, I think it gives it more of a comic
but
book
it's-
look to it. Maybe I think is what they're going for.
Yes. Yeah, it feels very comic booky when you watch it, but it doesn't take away from the animation aspect of it.
Yeah, no, the animation still is top notch. I know part of our complaints with the last, the kind of last iteration of the DC animation was that the animation was amazing, but the stories were getting really kind of getting stale. They were getting very predictable. They were just, a lot of times they were just really gruesome and rated R for the sake of being gruesome and rated R. And just
very
a lot of them.
one,
What?
but very one shot.
Yeah, very one shot.
Like not doing like the big huge kind of story arcs in the last year.
And then, the last couple that we got, they kind of relaunched the universe with Superman, and then they had the was it the Justice Society, I think, with Wonder Woman. It was like a
World War II one.
Yeah, an alternate Earth story, and now this new Batman, The Long Halloween, in this new style, and I'm really digging it, and I like what they're doing with it. Like I said, it feels like it's a comic book. It feels like the comic book is coming alive in the movie versus it's trying to be an animated show. This actually is more like, hey, listen, these are the comics, and we want them to just kind of project onto the big screen. And I think that's really well. I mean, it's playing out really well. And I also really like that they're taking these stories and they're telling these, like you said, these kind of standalone stories. Now, clearly they're building the universe, and I'm sure they're going to cross over because they're definitely bringing in new talent and some other things. But I like how they're adapting the stories, and especially with The Long Halloween, the thing that I really liked about this a lot is that in the previous ones, when they would adapt the comic book, they'd also add in a lot of stuff, or they would try and mingle other storylines into it, right? Yeah. The Long Halloween is really adapting just the Long Halloween comics, and anybody's not familiar with it, this was a run. God, I can't remember the artists and writers, but I think it was Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb, maybe. It was 12 issues. It was a standalone story. It was super good. It was about every issue was a different holiday, and every holiday there was a murderer who was murdering certain people on certain holidays without this is, by the way, going to be fairly spoiler free. We won't give any major details away of this, but and so that was the setup of the comic book. And so by the end of, and it was a murder mystery, and yes, there was some fighting and stuff, but it was definitely much more of a detective story. And by the last issue, kind of unraveled everything. But one of the things that struck me about the comic books was that how good the writing was. It really kept you guessing all the way to the last issue. Like, you really could not figure out what was going on until the end. And in the movie, and like I said, I watched part one. Part one adapts the first six. I think it's the first six. No, it's not the first six. I think they end right after New Year's on the first part one. But
now, did you watch through the credits on part one?
I thought I did.
See the teaser at the end of the credits.
I'm pretty sure I did, but I don't remember. You want to refresh my memory?
A female character was introduced at the end of the credits.
Is it Poison Ivy?
That's part two.
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to rewatch it.
Yeah.
I'll have to rewatch before I watch part two. But so anyway, so that's kind of basically what the story is. And the first, obviously, if you, I think it's safe to say right now that if you want to watch this, we'd recommend you watch this, but you definitely should pick up part one and part two.
Yes.
Part one obviously leaves on a cliffhanger. It kind of ends.
Well, you think you're gonna figure it out, and then it's that it's like, oh, okay. So they did a good job of pushing it, of trying to like make you think that you're putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
And then when you look at it and you're done, you're like, oh man, I don't got it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that's really cool about this story is that it does a really good job of weaving in and out most of Batman's real big rogue gallery, right? So very few people don't find a way to play a role in this but they don't take over the whole story. So for instance, without spoiling anything, the Joker's in part one, and he plays this really crazy big role, and it's great, and it's a great way for the part one to kind of end. But it's actually not really integral to the main story. But when you're watching it, it definitely feels like it is, but it's not. And so that's kind of the way that what's cool. Like I said, that's kind of the way that all the Batman's rogue gallery of criminals weave in and out of this story without taking away from the major story, which is kind of a departure from a lot of the other movies that we've watched, the animated movies anyway.
Yeah, and they continue that through the second part, where you get to see more of the rogue gallery that's not introduced in part one. And like you said, they're not like the giant main overarching things, but they are there. Oh, I wonder if this is going to be who's setting up all this stuff, but they're it's all intricate and weaving, and they play little minor parts that kind of
Hmm.
push the whole overall story forward.
Yeah.
And they do it in a great way. Uh, so
What's this one rated? Is it PG or was it an R?
I believe it was PG because I don't think they didn't have like a lot of the swears and stuff.
If it is rated R, one of the things I liked about this one too is it's definitely one. Even though it is a little on the violent side at times, it definitely it's not one that you can't watch with your kids. A lot of
Yeah,
the previous ones. Okay,
well,
PG-13. And
yeah,
there's some obviously people get murdered, and there's some definitely there's some Batman kung fu fighting going on. There's
yeah,
a
but they definitely did not have the swears
Yeah.
like they have in the other ones. Um, they definitely cut that out and they made it a
Well,
little more.
and I don't mind swearing in movies. Actually, I mean I swear a lot, but it always feels a little
Yeah,
strange in these animated movies. Like
yeah,
it just
that's
feels a
true.
little like these movies are supposed to kind of be for kids to an extent, or at least where you can watch them with the young ones. And I like a good adult cartoon, but this one was more of a healthy medium. So it had some swearing and some violence, but it wasn't over the top excessive where you're like, man, I can't show this to my kids.
Mhm.
But you also was like, it also felt for you. So I really enjoyed that where they kind of dialed it back a little bit. It doesn't mean it wasn't extremely, brutal in some of the fighting, but it just wasn't, it wasn't like bones sticking out and
Yeah,
people
it
getting
wasn't
sawed in half.
Justice League Dark where they're
Yeah.
just like, we're just gonna push it.
Yeah, Justice League Dark, and there is something more disturbing about seeing animated violence where people's guts are getting flying. It's just weird, man. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's like you're supposed to be watching something for kids, and now don't get me wrong. I know there's plenty of fans of anime who are like, listen, I've been watching, Ghost in the Shell and all these other things for years, and just people getting ripped in half, and yeah, but this
Hmm.
isn't that, right? The DC animation was always kind of meant for. Kids and adults to enjoy at the same time equally, right? That's
Yeah.
always kind of separated. That's why the original Bruce Timm Batman series was so good, is because adults could watch it and love it, but also kids could enjoy it as well. But anyway, so this is really good. Another big departure, and I don't know if this is going to be the new permanent, is we got a new Batman in this. Jensen Ackles, who most people might know as Dean Winchester in the Supernatural series, is now the voice of Batman. He originally he kind of started his Batman run as the Red Hood in one of the one of the better older DC animated movies,
Hmm.
Batman Red Hood, and but he takes over for Batman for Bruce Wayne, and I thought he was great Batman.
Yeah, I liked his interpretation of Bruce Wayne. They kind of made him like what I want to say, like mid 30s, maybe.
Yeah, he's
Like
a
he's
little
not
gruffer, a
like,
little bit older.
yeah, he's kind of like the a good middle aged Batman,
Well, and
basically.
he's honestly he's probably my favorite since Kevin Conroy. I mean, of all the ones they've done in between, I really did like him as Batman. I think he does a really good Batman. It took me a little because I'm a huge Supernatural fan, so it took me a little bit to not hear Dean
Yeah,
Winchester. But
not to be
once,
picturing putting his face on it.
yeah, but he does this really. What I really like too is he does this very subtle difference from when he's Batman and Bruce Wayne, where you can
Hmm.
tell they're the same, but he doesn't get like super gravelly, but he just puts a little bit of nuance in his Batman voice where it's a different voice, but it's still him.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. It was a lot less of the gruff. He didn't. He wasn't trying to do it from the back of his throat.
Well, and
Uh,
Kevin Conroy, he was great as Batman, but he was always kind of the same voice. When he was Batman or Bruce Wayne, it was always kind of the same voice where he is definitely, like I said, Ackles, he just has a little, like I said, just a little bit of coming from the back of his throat, but it doesn't sound like, Christian Bale's like, I have the Lord.
yeah, yeah.
Fever. And it's not
Uh,
it's not the modulated Batfleck. So I mean, I don't know. I really liked it. The voice acting is top notch in this. As always, they usually do a great job on the casting.
it's hard because all the DC animated, like, we like the animation, we like the voice actor. It's hard for us to find like really critiques other than like in the storyline or the story in itself.
Well, and
Um,
like I said, usually the critique is that they take a story like Long Halloween and then they actually combine it with something else. So like they'll give us an hour and a half. The first half hour is really the Long Halloween, and then they'll be like, well, let's also throw in some Court of Owls, and let's throw in Dark Victory, and let's throw in, and then they kind of smush it all together. This one is a faithful adaptation. It's part 1 and part 2. It reminds me a lot of The Dark Knight, where they did The Dark Knight part 1 and part 2. They fleshed out the comic book some. It's been a while since I've read it, but it's fairly accurate to the comic book. But they've also updated some of the stuff. They've added some more action, added a little more character development, and it's for the best. I really liked part 1. I am really excited to watch part 2. I was kind of bummed I didn't have a chance to watch it before we recorded this, but I'm definitely going to watch it this week. I'm actually going to be on vacation here, so it's one of the things I already got loaded on my iPad to watch. I'm actually going to try and watch it on my TV because the first one was in 4K and it looked gorgeous. So I'd like to watch it on my 4K TV, but yeah, I don't know. You get anything else to add? You watched part 2. Is there anything more that they do in part 2 that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, you're definitely going to enjoy part 2. I honestly paused it at one point because I was like, they got to be getting close to the end, and they still haven't done the big reveal or anything like that. And I looked, and it was 15 minutes left in the movie, and it's like, man, they keep you guessing right up to almost the end credits, and when they finally where you get to piece everything together, and it all kind of clicks. In my head, I thought it was going to be this one person throughout the whole second part, and
it wasn't.
And it wasn't. I was way off.
That's a sign of a good.
I'll just say I thought it was Alfred. I was like, I always just think it's gonna be something weird, it's Alfred. Alfred's the bad guy.
It's like a what if.
But, nope, Alfred's still Alfred.
No Alfred. Yeah, they. I also like how they weren't afraid to embrace the fact that Batman is a detective. This is a detective story.
Yeah, a lot of good detective stuff in this one.
Yeah.
And you get a lot more Harvey Dent. DA Harvey Dent, and Jim Gordon working together, and I enjoyed that part because the Two-Face story. You're either going to do the tragic Two-Face story that we kind of got from
put a pin in that. Come here, child of mine. Come here. Yeah, that's right. She finally came down. It took 27 minutes.
No, it didn't.
Listen, me and Ryan had a brilliant idea.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are always so lazy. We're talking about how lazy our children are and how you guys don't do anything for us ever. All you do is eat our food and make us buy you things. So me and Ryan made a joint decision that we are going to make we're going to put our dollars to work, and that you, especially your job, is going to be, we would like you to animate me and Ryan for the show.
Really?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I can do that.
That was easier than I thought it was going to be. Okay, good. I expect it.
But,
on my desk by Monday.
Listen, hold on. You have to remember, underneath the shirt is a ton of muscles.
No, Ryan has no muscles, but I need all the muscles. I want to look like All Might.
Okay,
we gotta be super jacked up. Brian can be going Super Saiyan.
She already left. See, this is what I'm talking about. She came down. She's like, yes. It takes her a half hour to come downstairs to see what I want. And then we talk about it, and she gets super excited, and she just runs away.
Yeah.
What's she doing? I don't know.
Wow. What was I saying?
Anyway, we're talking about detective story.
You either have the tragic Two-Face, or you have the Two-Face that kind of knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so I would really like how they developed the Harvey Dent character into Two-Face in this one.
Well, in this story,
that's what part 2 is kind of getting to.
Okay, cool. Well, and this story is very much like a kind of Batman, year 3, year 4, so it's early. He's already established he's Batman, but he's also, he's not the everything. It's not everything. He doesn't have 3 different Robins, and he isn't the old grizzled Batman.
Got no helps.
Yeah. So anyway, as you can see, me and Ryan both really, really enjoyed this. It's a great action detective story, noir kind of thriller that I would highly recommend. It's about a 3-hour story.
Recommend it and watch it with your kids.
Yep, definitely, and it never drags. It's definitely worth the investment. Get it on 4K. Like I said, mine on my 4K TV. Part 1 looked amazing. I'm guessing part 2 probably looks exactly the same. Get it.
I watched it on my new iPad, so it was really nice coming off my iPad.
Yeah, check it out. Batman: The Long Halloween, Part 1 and Part 2 available now. You can pick it up at any of your local stores or on
digital,
iTunes or Vudu or any place you buy digital shit.
check it out, and
All
then
right.
get the because comics are cool.
Well, since we're talking DC and we're already in this DC mode and we already kind of teased our King Shark stuff, we should just go ahead and dive into what we thought about Suicide Squad. HBO Max aired Suicide Squad this last Friday, so hopefully everyone's had a chance to check it out. We are going to be doing full spoilers on this, so if you have not seen it, I would suggest skipping the next 10 minutes because we are going to be talking the shit out of Suicide Squad. And you cannot talk about this movie without spoiling it, so you have been warned. So the spoilers are going to start in 3, 2, 1. I cannot believe they fucking killed Rick Flag. That pissed me off, by the way.
You watched it at home, right?
Yeah, I watched it at home. Yeah, so I watched it. It was 4K, Dolby Atmos. I put it on my surround. We did watch as a family, lights out, theater rules, cranked it up. It was fucking awesome. I mean, obviously it's not as good as a 75-foot screen or however big this theater screens are, but it was pretty close to it, and we had a good time. I really enjoyed this movie. I don't think I've had as much fun watching a comic book movie as, at least not in a long time. I mean, this was reminiscent of some of the earlier Marvel movies as far as the fun factor.
Thor Ragnarok would probably be like a good comparison. I think.
It was very jokey like Thor Ragnarok, but it is its own thing, man. It is, first of all, if you want your kids to watch it, like I said, I let my kids watch it. I will warn you, if you haven't watched it, I don't know why you're listening to this because this is spoiled. It is gruesome.
There's no holding back.
It is so gruesome. And there's just random penis occasionally, which is really weird.
Yeah, that was...
It was so strange. We're sitting there, and they're murdering everybody, and this guy stands up. He's got a shirt on, but no pants on. Boom, he gets shot and just dies. And my girls are like, is that a penis? And then he flies backwards, and his penis is flopping around. And they're like, oh, it's a penis. I'm like, well, it's a penis.
Yeah. So thankfully, I watched it by myself. So I didn't have to worry about, like, cover your eyes or anything like that. But
yeah, there was a few scenes we had to close our eyes just because.
Like, wait, and then like pause it and be like, okay, yeah, that's a penis, and then like push back.
Yeah, we had them close our eyes when we knew the thinker was going to get ripped in half, and there's a few times you could see something about to happen. You're like, yeesh. Let's not.
Like, wait, what's the dog doing over there?
So I don't want to do a scene by scene breakdown or just like rave about our favorite things. Okay, couple things. What was your favorite thing about this Suicide? I mean, clearly this is a big improvement on the original Suicide Squad. But overall, what was the thing you liked the most about this?
King Shark.
Yeah, friend.
I mean, it's to have him as a comedic element is a great. I mean, not that there's not a lot of comedic elements in this one.
But a giant shark who pretty much just eats people?
Yeah. And
I mean, he's basically the Hulk, right? In this, but he just eats people?
With little jellyfish things.
That was hilarious.
But, yeah. Like, Harley Quinn, I like her storyline. And they showed her character, a little bit of her development and like what she like stands for. I guess, 'cause, like when she's with that dictator guy and he's telling what he's gonna do to like women and children, and she's like, okay. And
this was the first time. Yeah, this is the first time with Harley. Like, the other movies kept trying to show like, oh, she doesn't need the Joker, and oh, she's her own person. But this is the first time I actually felt like that was true about her, right?
Yeah.
The other movies, and not to shame on those ones, I actually enjoyed the original Suicide Squad. And Birds of Prey wasn't necessarily for me, but, it was all right. But those movies really went out of their way to try and tell the story about how Harley was her own person. This movie actually made Harley her own person, which was different. This is much more of a show but don't tell, all right? It's just like, she's her own person, and here's why, and here's how she just is. She's a fully fleshed. This is the first time I felt like she was her own fleshed out character with her own motivations and her own style. And I love the fact that like when she goes into like kick-ass mode, she's got all these animated like birds, and because it's almost like this is what she sees in her head. Like she's so crazy. Like to her, it's not even violence. She's just like, ooh, look at all the pretty colors while I'm killing everybody.
I like the interactions that she has, like with Bloodsport, and
and I really tended to go back to my Rick Flag thing. I also liked that this movie wasn't a sequel, but they had little nods, right? Like you could tell those two really were friends, and it had developed because of the other movies, and that they, they'd gone through something, and there was like they were actually friends, and and Deadshot, It's Bloodshot. God. Okay, first of all, let me get a couple criticisms out of the way first. This movie is exactly the same movie as the first movie. I'm tired of people telling me it's not. Like, beat for beat, story for story, it's almost exactly the same stinking movie, right? I mean, come on. Let's not kid ourselves here. The characters,
but they kill more Suicide Squad members.
Listen, this is infinitely better. But you recruit a bunch of people, you kill a handful of them, you send them in a situation they absolutely cannot win against a whole bunch of random people that you don't know. And at the very end, they all have to like stand together against an enemy that is so overpowered they have no business even being there, right? Like this is the same movie that the first one was. In fact, Bloodshot and Deadshot and Bloodsport are the exact same character. Like they're the exact same character, completely same motivation. They both have a daughter they're trying to save.
When they had Bloodsport, I was like, wait. It's like okay, they recast Idris Elba for Will Smith's character. Like I had to go through my head like, oh yeah, it was a completely different character because I could for some reason thinking.
So apparently, like, if anybody
Will Smith didn't want to do it, so they just cast.
Yeah, if anybody else is confused, here's what happened. They originally were going to cast Idris Elba to replace Will Smith and play Deadshot. All right, is it Dead? Yeah, Deadshot. But Will Smith was like, listen, I like it. I can't do it right now. I'm schedule conflicted. So they were like, whoa, well, if he wants to ever come back and do another Suicide Squad movie, we don't want to like X-nay Will Smith.
Burn that bridge.
But we've already cast Idris Elba, and he's already written this character for Deadshot. So who is a character that's kind of like him that we can make work? So Bloodsport is also an assassin. However, Bloodsport in the comic books has the ability to hide weapons interdimensionally. So he can pull them off his suit, all these different weapons, because they're in a different pocket dimension. So that's why in this movie you see him pulling all these things off and he's making other weapons. That's kind of his power.
It's cool looking too.
Deadshot would never missed. That was his power. He was like, he doesn't miss. Bloodsport, it isn't necessarily that kind of assassin. He's also an assassin. But now, that being said, though, Idris Elba was, and I love Will Smith. He crushes Will Smith in these two movies combined. Yeah. Dude, Idris is so good in this movie.
If you had to put them, like, if you had to pick between the two, he was either all the way.
Oh, yeah. I would love to see Will Smith in this movie just because I like to see what James Gunn could do with him. Idris was amazing, and his outfit was incredible. The fact that he had like a xenomorph helmet was so awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was. But speaking of helmets, what do you think of Peacemaker?
Oh my god, dude, John Cena. This is probably my favorite John Cena.
Like just gold, bright gold,
dude. This is probably my favorite John Cena performance of all time.
Oh,
like. He is so funny in this, and he's such a douche waffle. Like, I like how they call his helmet like a toilet seat. I mean, they just make fun of him the entire time. But like when they have to ditch their clothes and they're wearing like the street clothes, and he's got like the shorts that are way too short, and he's got the polo that's way too small, and he's got the top popped, and he's got his helmet on, and he's running through the street with his gun that's like this long. I'm just like, what is happening with this movie? It was so
like
funny.
They pulled like the literal outfit from 1940s.
Yeah.
And just like,
oh no, I loved his.
Like, yeah, let's just do it. Like he
I'll say this. One of the things that was great about this movie is this movie could go from extremely gruesome to unbelievable action to hilarity in all in one scene, right? And you never felt like you had whiplash. Like you could go from, Peacemaker was this joke of a character, but he also was like, yeah, this dude will kill you. Like, he had skills, but he was a joke.
Kill stuff with almost anything. That's what I can do. Why do we have two people like that?
I do love how they were like, every single one of you has been chosen for your unique abilities, and he's like, wait a minute, he does the same thing I do. What are we talking about here, right? But Peacemaker was a total joke until he wasn't all of a sudden, right? When him and Rick Flag squared off. And hopefully, I know Rick Flag is apparently dead, but I loved what they did with Rick Flag in this. I'm kind of hoping they find some comic book workaround to bring him back. But, they brought John Cena back for his own show. But, he goes from being a joke to all of a sudden he is, like, this is a dangerous fight between two men who are, like, trying to kill each other, right? I mean, this is a serious thing. And it's just, James Gunn, I think... If James Gunn has one superpower, is he understands comic books in a way that nobody else does. He can make a comic book movie in a way that I don't think any other director out there can do, right? Like, don't get me wrong. The Russo brothers made The Winter Soldier is incredible, right? But it's not really a comic book movie. The Winter Soldier is a comic book movie the way The Dark Knight is a comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
yeah.
It is, but it's also not, right? There's only been a few really, like, Guardians of the Galaxy is a comic book movie. Thor Ragnarok, that is a comic book movie. But James Gunn just has a way of taking these things and making them believable yet completely ridiculous in a way that you buy it all, right? Suicide Squad, even though it's so violent, it's almost comically violent. And you almost don't even like, even though it's gross, you don't think about all the gross movies you've seen in your life, like Saw or something like that. You think about it, it kind of gives you the, I don't want to watch that again. This movie might be one of the most gory movies I've ever seen yet. I don't even think about the gore. Like, I'd watch it again at a heartbeat. Like, and that's a testament to how much James Gunn understands these things and puts so much levity and character into these that you just want to watch it again. It's just fun.
Well, and what do you think about the setup for Polka Dot Man from the beginning all the way up to they set it up throughout the whole movie about him seeing his mom everywhere.
Well, yeah,
and
dude, he got so much character development,
and then just that setup as it progresses through the movie, like they all these funny scenes and everything, and then at the very end,
to your point, that is the genius of James Gunn, and that is why this movie works. It's not perfect, but it works. Is because of that. He takes a character like Polka Dot Man, who most people have no idea who he is. He's kind of a joke.
He throws polka dots.
He's throwing up polka dots, and like I kept like he's like got these things, and he's like, oh, I've just got allergies, and he's got these like pokey things sticking out of his head. Yeah. People are like, what the shit is wrong with you, right? And you take this guy he just wants to die. He hates his mother. He had his horrible childhood. 2, he embraces it. He faces his fear of his mother, and then by the end, he realizes that he actually was meant to be on this earth to be a superhero, only to be killed fighting Starro, right, to save the world, right? But, that is a complete story arc in a movie that has 40 characters, that's only a little over 2 hours. That's, as much as I love Zack Snyder, he could take a lesson or two from this and be like, your movie doesn't need to be 4 hours to tell character stories. You can still do it, but you can do it in a little shorter time. Yeah. But I don't know. We didn't even talk about Ratcatcher, who is great. The only problem with
Ratcatcher 2.
Yeah, my only problem with Ratcatcher 2 is she seemed too good. Like, she almost didn't even seem like, why is this girl in prison? I know her rats robbed a bank, but like, really, like, she seems like too good of a person to be locked away in prison.
Yeah, I enjoyed. I liked Sebastian, the little.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Sebastian the rat was great.
And you find out that Bloodsport is afraid of rats. And it gives him some vulnerability.
Dude, that was so funny. They're like, you're afraid of rats? Why didn't you say anybody? I'm an assassin. I'm not exactly going to tell people my weaknesses. Dude, I don't know. The movie's great.
When they did her kind of quick origin story, with her dad and everything like that, and you're like, oh, it gave a great sense of they did that character development in less than 5 minutes, and you were just enough to get emotionally attached to the character that you were like, oh god, I hope she doesn't die. Yeah. I don't want her to be one of the Suicide Squad people that die. So they did a really good job of stuff like that, of doing just enough to get you, emotionally attached that you're like, oh no, I want them to make it through the end.
How about Weasel?
Poor Weasel, man.
Throw Weasel in the water. Anybody check to see if Weasel could swim? Nobody?
Did Weasel even have any powers or anything?
He was just a weasel. I mean, whatever.
Well, apparently weasels can't swim. So
yeah, well, he's alive. That was my daughter's youngest's favorite character. She's like, "Oh no, Weasel!" I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now?" But no, I mean, the movie was just
like drops out of the helicopter
and just like, ah! Dude, it's so funny.
Did anybody check to see if Weasel could swim and then just silence?
Yeah, I know. I mean, God, we're running out of time. We don't even have time to really talk about Amanda Waller, who is the true villain of this movie. I mean, God, she is the worst.
She's a horrible person.
I hate Amanda Waller. God, I hate her.
Yeah.
But no, anyway, I don't know. I mean, we could talk. Like I said, we could probably spend a whole hour talking about this movie.
We could pick apart a lot of stuff. King Shark is funny. Yeah. He has a whole bunch of great one-liners, and when he finds his little jellyfish friends, and he just,
oh my God! And then they try to eat him.
Yeah, and it's just.
I like when he wants to be going on the team mission, and he's like cut his fingers over his face, and he's like, mustache.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you cannot go on the mission.
Mustache, because that was going to be his cover.
But the best part too is that Rick Flag took him seriously. That's what made it work so well. Is that when they're doing the sound off on the comms or whatever, and he gets on and he's like, friend, and they're like, whatever his name is, stay off the comms. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he didn't treat him like he's an idiot. He just treated him like, okay, yes, you're a member of the team, but I'm sorry, even though you're a giant shark, we can't take you on this. I don't know. He was great. Also, fun note, anybody didn't know, Sylvester Stallone is the voice of King Shark, and he does a great job.
Yeah, he's by far. I from the Harley Quinn animated show, and this movie, King Shark has just become like my favorite DC, like, side villain, kind of guy. So, but yeah, I love the heck out of King Shark.
Yeah, it was fun.
He made the movie for me.
Yeah, it was, like I said, when it was over, I was sad that it was done just because I was having so much fun with all these characters. It did not do really well box office wise. It made, I think, $26 million domestically, which is way under what they thought. A lot of people are saying it's because they released it on HBO Max, and I'm sure that had something to do with it. But I think it's also telling that none of us went to theaters right now because, whether we like it or not, COVID is back, and nobody wants to,
It's going to be a toss-up to see if they're even going to be able to make a third one. I hope they do. I hope that.
I think they will, because
what DC has a problem with that Marvel doesn't have is that people either love it and it like goes overboard, like there's no middle ground. It's one extreme or the other.
It's not even just
Marvel
that.
does not get that to a large degree.
Well, it's not even just that. Marvel set it up so every Marvel movie is a must-see movie. So even if you don't like it, you're like, oh, I still had to see this because it's part of this larger story, right?
Yeah.
Where DC, you're like, oh, I don't need to see this one, so I don't have to watch this one, right? But I do think that this movie has done something that nothing has done for DC in a long time, which is a good word of mouth. People are genuinely, like, they're liking this. Everyone who's seen it has, it was one of HBO Max's most viewed day of movies, period. I would love to see the numbers of how many people have actually streamed this movie. I have to imagine it's probably a lot. So I think I definitely think DC wants to be in the James Gunn business, and I could see them, if he wants to make another one, them allowing it. I hope so. I mean, this was really good. I think a lot maybe depends on this Peacemaker show. If the Peacemaker show airs and just people aren't into it, maybe that's a sign to Warner Brothers that they don't want more Suicide Squad. But even if we don't get any more, the genius of this is it's a great standalone movie. It also kind of ends a trilogy of Harley Quinn movies and kind of takes her character from the very original Suicide Squad to Birds of Prey to this, and kind of gives her like a full story arc as well. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I do hope we get more. I do think, even though I don't think it's going to have a huge box office, I don't think anything's going to have a huge box office. I mean, Black Widow, had a big opening weekend and then died in the theaters.
Because they're just kind of giving it for free on HBO Go too.
I mean, they're giving it for free. The Jungle Cruise, which I really enjoyed, spent $30 on it, and can't go to the theater because my youngest can't be vaccinated yet. So We just watched it at home, and I think that only made $23 million as well opening weekend. So it's, nothing is making money right now, and I do think the studios understand that. I think to them, what they want to see is they want to see the return one way or another. If people are getting on HBO Max because they want to watch Suicide Squad, and then right after Suicide Squad they see that they start clicking on the Justice League and Man of Steel and all these other DC movies, that says, ooh, this movie made people interested in our other movies. That is what we care about, right? So it's going to be a long time, I think, before we really know how much this impacted, unless, who knows, maybe tomorrow we hear that they've signed James Gunn to do 3 more Suicide Squad movies, and that'll be that. But I do think that we're going to be getting. I do think Warner Brothers. I think they'd be foolish to not invest in James Gunn. He clearly understands if he wants to make more comic book movies. I know he's going back to finish his Guardians trilogy with Marvel, but I would love to see more James Gunn movies.
That brings with the whole Marvel thing of doing Disney Plus, that you pay for, and and going to the theaters, and they're being able to combine those, for their box office draws. And so they're like, oh yeah, we made $120 million because, we're selling it on Disney Plus for $40, and
well, and I think, I do think I saw that HBO just announced they made a deal with AMC to starting next year. They're going to be releasing their movies only in theaters for 45 days, and then they're going to HBO Max. So, I know Disney does kind of the same thing. Other than the Disney Plus, you can pay the $30 for Premier Access, or you can wait 45 days. I know Paramount. Quiet Place 2, me and my wife went and saw in the theater, and then 45 days later it was on Paramount Plus. We watched it with the kids there. So it seems like that is going to be the model, and I actually think that might not be bad. I think that might be helpful. As much as I like watching Suicide Squad at home, I do also recognize that I like these big movies, and I want them to keep getting made, and the only way they're going to keep getting made is if they make a lot of money in theaters. And so I think a 45-day window will actually... I think that's kind of the best of both worlds, right? It's not so long that we don't have to wait that long if we really just don't. I mean, think about how many times there are movies you really want to see, you just don't have time to go, right? And it'll be nice in 45 days if you missed The Quiet Place 2, but you really wanted to see it, you just didn't have a chance to because, hey, we're parents, we're busy, we work, we have kids. Now all of a sudden we can watch it at home if we really want to. But at the same time, if we want to watch a really big event movie like Suicide Squad, because it is still fun to find a sitter for the kids and go on a date with your wife and go see a movie, right? Or take the kids. I would have loved to go see Jungle Cruise in the theater. So I think in a world where we can get enough people to fucking get vaccinated and we can go back to the movie theaters, I like the idea of going to see the movies I really want to see on the big screen. But then the other ones I miss, I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait 9 months, a year before it is on demand for $6 and then another 3 months before it's on a streaming service that I pay for. So I really like the idea of these streaming services putting their big movies out earlier so we can watch them. But I also understand that, they do need a theatrical one. And honestly, I know that we were talking off before the show started. I mean, you were talking about Scarlett Johansson and there's a lot of confusion. A lot of people don't know what side to take, whether this is Disney or Scarlett Johansson because she's suing Disney. I'm clearly on Scarlett Johansson's side on this one. Disney made a deal with her. They promised her movie would only be released in theaters, and why does that make a big deal? Is because she gets back in points, which is basically a percentage of the box office gross. And if anybody who says that, she's already made enough money, well, that's beside the point. The contract that Disney gave her to come and star in this movie included, back-end deals off of total grosses, and they promised her a theatrical release only, and then the same day, they released it on Disney+. It became the most pirated movie of the year, and her second week box office tanked because of it. So, Disney didn't make as much, but they don't care because they're getting the subscribers. They're feeding content into their Disney Plus, and so I think, the studios want to go to this model where we pay you X amount of dollars to make this one movie and then you don't get shit for the rest of your life off it, right? But unfortunately, that's not really how Hollywood works. But I mean, maybe it will start working that way. I don't know. Maybe I think that's what's going to be interesting about the Scarlett Johansson Disney lawsuit is I think it's really going to be a telltale sign of where these are going for.
You're going to see, I think, a lot more as they adjusting these business models, and depending on what the actors are going to be requesting, I think it's what we're going to see how the business model falls out. Because if the actors are going to be taking more like of not the theater gross, but they're going to be taking more of the subscribers slash digital gross.
Yeah.
And that might be more profitable, like in a quick, like if the actor, if they're trying to like make more, not thinking long term or just more short term, stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how the business model develops and how people are going to get paid for.
Yeah, and if anybody's listening to this going, oh, who cares? These people all make too much money as it is, blah, 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 blah. I get that, right? But here's the truth of the matter. The reason why we got Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man for as long as we did, for 10 years, that culminated in one of the best movies you'll ever watch as far as a Cap goes with Infinity War or Endgame, is because he got a percentage off the gross to come back. Most actors will not commit to franchises this long because they want to do other things. However, if they have a financial investment, like, oh, I don't know, if these do super well and I get a whole bunch of money in the back end. I mean, he made like $75 million off Endgame, right? And you could say, well, that's a lot of money. Well, yeah. But would those movies have done what they did and been as great as they would if Robert Downey Jr. would have stepped away after Iron Man 3?
Yeah. Can you picture anybody else as Tony Stark?
And that is why, to me, these deals are important, that they, that they don't piss off all the talent. I mean, you don't want to see you. We want as actors. I mean, as actors, as fans. For the first time in our lives, we've seen like really big actors taking a. Think about Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Think about all these. Like I said, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. These huge name stars who are great actors taking these roles and staying with them forever. Right? I mean, you didn't used to get that. People. You would never get a. I don't know who's Jonathan Majors, the new King the Conqueror. That dude's a classically trained actor who's been nominated for Oscars, and now he's going to be King the Conqueror in Marvel, right? I mean, Tom Hiddleston's back as Loki. Do you think that would happen if he's just like, well, we're gonna lowball you on the payment, and he doesn't want to be part of Marvel, right? So it's important that people pay their talent, pay them well, so that they keep coming back, and we get to enjoy these things. So I don't know, if you're sitting at home wondering which side should I be on with Scarlett and Disney, we all love Disney, but trust me, we should all be on Scarlett's side on this one, I think, personally. But I don't know. That's our business corner for tonight. So real quick before we move on, I did want to get I wanted you to rank. So now we talked about Suicide Squad. First, was there anything else you want to say about Suicide Squad?
No, other than give it a shot. Mm-hmm. That's all we ask.
Yeah, watch it. If you're a terrible parent like I am, let your kids watch it. My kids enjoyed it, but I would definitely recommend maybe watching the first 5 minutes for yourself first and deciding if it's available for your kids. Okay, so real quick before we moved on, I wanted to give, where do we rank Suicide Squad? Give me your top 5 DCEU movies.
People in Suicide Squad?
No, top 5. Give me your top 5 DCEU movies. So like Wonder Woman, Justice League.
Oh, okay.
Where does this rank for you? Where does this one rank for you in these movies?
So number 5. I know my number 1 is. So I'm
gonna just go from 1.
5. What's that?
Well, then just go from number 1.
The Snyder cut of Justice League. That's my favorite one.
Yeah. Same.
And number 2 will be the first Wonder Woman. Number 3 would be tossed up. I'm going to say Man of Steel. Number 4, Suicide Squad 2. Number 5. I'm trying to go with like the current iterations.
Yeah.
I'll just say, it's hard to beat Batman: The Dark Knight Rises. I mean, that's
not
a part of this current iteration, but it's hard.
All right, you're just gonna throw a curveball. That's cool. I'm gonna go. So I'm with you. I'm gonna go. Justice League is number 1. For me, I'm gonna go Man of Steel. I don't know did you do Man of Steel or Wonder Woman is number 2?
Man of Steel.
Okay. Yes.
Was 3 for me.
Okay, so Man of Steel is number 2 for me. Wonder Woman's number 3 for me. And then I'd probably put Suicide Squad as 4, and then probably rounding up my 5th. I need to watch Shazam again. Everybody talks about how much they love Shazam, but I liked it, but I didn't really love it.
So my kids on a rewatch, they loved it and they were like, "Oh, Shazam, let's watch that. I love Shazam." Halfway through the movie, they were both out of the room.
Yeah, it
On a
drags.
rewatch.
It drags at times. I'll probably go Aquaman as number 5 because that movie's just freaking fun, man. Aquaman's
That
ridiculous.
was a fun one.
Aquaman is ridiculous. So okay, cool. All right, so moving on, our last little segment. I know we wanted to talk before we got out of here. We had a little bit of a rant / parent stuff we want to talk about. We want to spend 5 or 6 minutes talking about video games for a quick sec before we.
Those dang video game boxes ruining our children's lives.
We want to give a public service announcement. Video games melt your brain. This is your brain. This is your brain on video games. No.
Only let your kids play for half an hour a day. No. So, I have...
Okay, hang on a second. To be fair, if we made those rules for our kids, they would never get to play because it takes 30 minutes to boot up a game.
Yeah. So,
it's not like in our day, you just turn it on and you were playing Mario within 30 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. You could get through like 5 minutes. You could be in like World 3 on Super Mario Brothers. But what's been going on at my house is I got a new gaming PC.
Oh.
And
nerd.
Of course, all of my really cool, my favorite games that I've kept over the years are currently in a storage unit in another state.
You could probably buy them for like $3 on Steam.
And that's basically where I was going to lead to. My son, he's been dying for a gaming PC because he's really into strategy games and like real-time strategy games and like role-playing games and stuff like that. And a lot of the ones that he watches, like the YouTube channels for like all these different people that play it, and so he gets the game. Unlike us, like we had like a trailer, before a game, and like like when Warcraft 3 came out, like we got to watch the Warcraft 3 trailer, and then we had to wait till we got the game to actually find out anything about it, or you read like PC Gamer magazine or something like that. No, so he'd had a couple of games that he really wanted to get. One was Crusader Kings 3. And another one was this dinosaur fossil hunter game because he wants to be a paleontologist. But so we've been playing Crusader Kings 3, which is a super fun game. If you like, it's a lot of micromanaging. Like you can start off like it's basically the entire world map minus the Americas, and you can start in like 1860. On like any county in any country, basically from like Europe, Scandinavia, Russia, India, Africa. You can start the Mongol Empire if you want and try and like just form it. It's a super fun game. But what I found is that I don't care about playing console games anymore, and I'm completely back to the PC overlord. But I've also found that I never am going to buy a physical copy of a game again because everything, like you said, is on Steam.
Yeah.
And Steam had the summer sale, and goodness gracious, my son was like, Dad, this game it's only $30 now, Dad. We gotta get it. It's only and we're like, dude, your birthday's in like a month. You're gonna have to wait because I'm not gonna buy games, and then your birthday comes up.
I play Xbox, right? But every year around Christmas, they have a mega blowout digital sale, and like I bought the Wolfenstein, both the Wolfenstein games for $3 each. I got Tomb Raider for my daughter for 99 cents. Like, come on, sure,
yeah,
buy.
So my problem is that I've been having to fight my son for using the PC because it's at the same spot where I work. So I have my work stuff kind of set up on one half of the desk, and then the gaming PCs on the other half. Literally the second, like 3 o'clock runs out, and I walk out the room, he just like slided right in, and just
he's
going in
off and running.
but I've kind of reignited my passion for PC gaming and just gaming in general. I never really could just get into consoles. Like I
Yeah.
play. We had Skyrim and all the shooting games. I suck at. I'm terrible at shooting games. Um, I I try, but it's my nickname used to be Bait. That
Well, I
that
mean,
was
to
my
be fair,
nickname
that
in
is
college.
kind of
All right, Ryan, you're Bait. So just run out there, draw the
that
fire.
well, I mean, that has always been the downside of the console games, right? Is that the computer games you can play much more of like your World of Warcrafts and
Hmm.
your those kind of games where much more strategy RPG where you can play with other people. You know, consoles have RPGs, but they're primarily shooters, and even a lot of the RPGs are now shooters.
Yeah, yeah. But I've been having a lot of fun rediscovering gaming, especially PC gaming. Um, I like I said, I don't think I'm ever going to buy a physical copy of a game ever
Yeah,
again.
no,
So I'm just going to get it through Steam.
yeah, no, I agree.
It's a great service if you
Well,
haven't been using it.
I mean, even because I'm a console guy, right? So I've got Xboxes and I've got two Xbox Ones. I've got the original one that came out like right when the Xbox One came out.
Yeah,
That's the one upstairs for the kids to play, and then I have kind of like the Xbox One S, which is
yeah,
like the
that's what we
newer,
have.
the white one. It's kind of a newer version. It runs much better, which is why they have the old crappy one upstairs. The downside is so like they want to play games with me, and so I'll play Destiny with them, or like they're really getting into Battlefront 2 of Star Wars, and so I'll play with them. Problem is I'll play with them online, but because the old one is so old and we're sharing the same connection, like that thing will lag so bad. I'm just like, I've got to get a new console, which I've been, which is great because the Xbox X is out, and I've been trying to get it for a fucking year, and guess who still cannot get a goddamn Xbox? This guy. You know why? Because stupid bot hackers buy up all the fucking games or consoles as soon as they get restocked, and because Microsoft won't send them to the stores, you can only buy them online for the most part, and then you don't get one. Dude, I went on Walmart the other day, and I don't even like Walmart, but I heard they were having a restock, so I went on there, I got it all ready, got my payment, all my stuff all ready, and I started refreshing like a minute before the download hit. I refreshed, it said available, I hit add to cart, at 12 o'clock, 1 second, I was on the page. I had one ready to go in my cart. It said error, and then it went back to the page. It said it was sold out in 2 seconds. They sold out their entire restock, and I was just like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" But guess what?
So
Guess what? A whole
people
fresh
have
crop
made,
popped up
people
on
have made
Amazon.
bots
Yeah,
that are automatically buying everything
they're automatically
for them.
buying them, and then literally 5 minutes later on Amazon, they're selling for $1,200.
That's, so I mean, I understand like capitalism,
It's bullshit.
and trying to make money,
It's been a
but
year. They've been out for a year, and you still can't even go to a store. I went to like my local Fred Meyer, and I'm like, hey, do you guys get any in? They're like, yeah, we get in 2 or 3 all the time. I'm like, okay, when? They're like, I don't know. They just come in randomly. Okay, I was like, well, how do I know when to get one? Well, you got to line up at 5 in the morning like everybody else. And I'm like, what? Apparently,
yeah,
every morning people line up at the store at 5 in the morning every single day because at 7 o'clock when they let them in, they're hoping they have some. And I'm like, I have a job. Like, what are you talking about?
is it like you have to line up and then like they open up the door and it's released to hounds? Kind
Yeah,
of
pretty
thing?
much. And it's first come, whoever gets them first, So if they only had 5 and you're the 6th person in line, well, you don't get shit, right? So it's just it is frustrating. It's frustrating that Xbox did not have enough. It's frustrating that they're releasing this Xbox XS that doesn't play in 4K. Come on, man. Why would anybody buy a video game system that doesn't play in 4K? Like,
Yeah.
get the fuck out of here. But anyway, whatever. But what I was gonna say is the nice thing is because I play, as long as I have my Xbox Live account logged into both profiles, my kids can access all the games I've ever bought. And so if I have the digital one, we can't play, or the actual physical one, we can't play together because we both have to have it in the console, the disc. But if
Yeah.
I buy it digitally, we can both download it to our consoles and we can play with each other. So yeah, I'm with you. I am never buying a physical copy again. I'm digital only forever.
Yeah. I guess that kind of makes sense as to why my son is not asking for the new Xbox because obviously his friends don't have it.
Yeah.
Because no, because I remember when I was a kid, like when the Super Nintendo came out, I mean, we had that thing within like a month at least.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
it wasn't like it was hard for my parents to get because they made like 20 billion of them.
Well,
You
and
know,
I didn't mind waiting. I didn't need it necessarily when, around the first wave. I mean, there wasn't a lot of games out for it already, and the cool thing is like the couple games I really want. They're releasing the remastered Diablo 2 on Xbox next month, and so you can play it if you buy it. So what's cool is you buy the game and then you can play it on the Xbox One or the Xbox X. And so
okay,
like
yeah,
in
they
the
have
new
a lot of
Halo.
compatibility, right?
Yeah, and so the Halo Infinite, which is the game I really want to play, comes out I think in November. And so if I don't have a console by then, I can still just play it on my Xbox. And I believe it transfers. My save game will transfer with my profile. So once I get my Xbox, it'll continue.
Yeah.
But still, it's just obnoxious, man. It's. I even went out and bought an Xbox One X or an Xbox X controller, the new ones, because they're super nice. Because it works with my Xbox One. It's just frustrating. It's just fucking stupid.
I mean, it's like I said earlier. I can understand trying to make some money and stuff like that, but this stuff it's just getting out of hand now. Like with the
Yeah.
Pokemon, it's like it was Pokemon cards, and like we tried to find like the Nintendo Mini. It took me like 8 months until we finally like I was at the store and they happened to have one on the shelf and just joink, and I just immediately.
It's because these manufacturers are releasing less and less quantities to the stores themselves. So more and more things are being sold online, which is allowing people to buy them all up and then resell them at a higher rate. That is what's going on. That's what's happening with everything, and it's just. Like I said, man, I get it. We're all capitalists, and I don't, okay, capitalists has made us all money, and I'm not anti-capitalism, but this is bullshit.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I'm glad I got my gaming PC, my Steam account, and I'm just gonna buy a game.
Dude, I mean, to your point, you know what? My Xbox controller will work with a fucking gaming PC, so all the same games are getting released. At some point, I might just buy a PC and hook it up to my TV. And just make that my new Xbox.
I think it's basically the same thing.
It is basically the same thing. So I don't know. We'll see. But all right. Well, we've already gone about a little over an hour. So I think unless you got something else, we can maybe call that a show. I did want to talk a little bit about the Bad Batch and Clone Wars. I recently watched all of them, and I'm just about caught up on Bad Batch. But tell you what, we'll save that for the next episode, especially since the Bad Batch finale is airing this week. So next time we have an episode, we can dive a whole bunch in to Star Wars, which actually be pretty fun because in a little over a month I'm going to Disneyland and going to Galaxy's Edge. So it'll be fun to talk a little Star Wars before I head to a galaxy far, far away. So a little tease for next time.
And I will say, it took me 3 years, but I finally listened to Brian, and I watched Lucifer. And I blasted through all 5 seasons of Lucifer within like a month. And
one of the best shows ever made.
He got lots of text messages from me whenever something happened. And it was a lot of fun. So I'm going to say, even though it took me like, 3 or 4 years to finally come around to it, you should watch Lucifer on Netflix.
Yeah, there you go. So you want a couple recommendations? We are going to talk. Actually, by the time, I think, I don't know if the next episode, but I know the last season of Lucifer airs next month, so you do not have to wait long. If you have not watched Lucifer, like Ryan did, you can catch up before the finale. We are definitely going to be talking about it on this show. But I also recommend, like I said, Bad Batch. Even if you haven't watched all of Clone Wars, I recommend watching at least season 7 before you watch Bad Batch, but if you don't, Bad Batch is a standalone great. If you think the idea of a Ninja Turtle style A-Team in space sounds cool, that is what the Bad Batch is. I would highly recommend it. They are one of my new favorite Star Wars things, and we'll be talking about that on the next episode. So check it out, Disney Plus.
The first episode was really good.
Yeah.
So.
Disney Plus for Bad Batch, and you can watch all of Lucifer on Netflix. So a couple of recommendations in the night on, but I think that's about it. So Ryan, unless you got anything else, we can probably get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. I know we keep saying this, but we do appreciate you guys tuning in each and every month when we air one. One of these days, me and Ryan are going to get our lives together, and we'll start trying to do these at least bi-weekly or something. So we'll have more of an actual schedule. And,
How about life not being so freaking difficult lately? Then that would be nice.
Yeah, life is crazy, but whatever. We're gonna keep doing this because we're friends, and fuck it, we ain't got nothing else to do. So, thanks for watching with us. Hope you guys are enjoying your lives. Stay awesome, do fun things, eat ice cream, and watch the Suicide Squad.
And stay nerdy. Eat sherbet better than ice cream, and watch all the things.
All right, later, everybody.
See you later.